Okay, welcome back, or if this is your first time, welcome. I'm Tom, and today we're going to have a quick look at using React props versus props.children. It's not a complicated concept, but it does sometimes cause people a little bit of confusion. If you find this useful, why not hit subscribe? Why not say hi in the comments? It would always good to hear from you. For this demonstration, then, I'm using the Scrimba IDE. For those of you who don't know, Scrimba is just quite a nice place to develop because you get this mini browser, and that just means that we can see our results in the same window without too much kind of going back and forth between windows, etc. It's great for developing, and it's based on VS Code, so literally everything we do in here, you can just do in VS Code, having installed Create React App or whatever else it is you're using. Also, CodePen equally, if you prefer, or one of the other many, Code Sandbox, etc. There's loads of them out there. This kind of mini project, Create React App, is a bit unnecessarily heavy, and this little Scrimba IDE gives us everything we need. So what are child props, or props.children, or whatever you want to call them? Well, basically, they're going to let us create a generic component that acts a bit like a template. Okay, so it can be modified by the parent when it's invoked. The parent component can pass whatever it needs, even if it's not known about at the time that the child component was created. So what we're getting at here is perhaps some dynamic content, layout features, nav elements that are going to display in one place but not another place. Basically, it gives you a bit more flexibility than standard props. We'll come back to that a bit later, but I think the best way to do it is just to have a quick look. So what you see at the moment then is a very, very basic app I've just created. So I've got two components here. This app page here is just, this index.js is just rendering the app to the DOM. If we pop over to the app, what have we got here? We have got a header and a page element. So the header page, the header element we can see up here, my title, home, about, contact. So we've got a little bit of nav. And then in the page, we've got the page title and some content. Let's just have a quick look at those. So in the page, literally all we're doing is creating a functional component, a little bit of CSS, page title, here's some content, and header, likewise, we've got a bit of CSS, my title, there's the nav element. And if we just have a very quick look at the CSS, all I've done really is put a display flex on there just so the layout is a bit nicer. If we were just to take away that, you can see, obviously, that's pretty ugly. I've taken away the bullet points just because I'm using a UL for the nav. Likewise, looks a bit nicer. And again, just a little bit of styling to center the page. So that's all we've got here. Very, very basic. So let's start off with sort of the worst way we could do that. And the worst way we could use props here, well, I suppose the worst way is what we've done, which is to not use props. What we've got here then in the header component is completely hardwired, right? So we've got the title and then everything that we want in these list items. Works absolutely fine, but kind of defeats the point of React in that it's not really sort of reusable code. It's very much hardwired. So let's try changing that to regular props. So if this component takes in props, and then we could just change this here to props, what should we call it? Link 1. This one can be link 2. And this one can be props link 3. Okay, and then over in the app component then, when we call the header, we could just put in the links. And actually, I've already got them commented out there, so I can just cut and paste. And if we just do Shift out on F to format that, I love that shortcut. Let's save that, and we should get the same thing. And just to test that, let's change about to about us, give it a save. Yeah, so we're passing now regular props. Nothing wrong with that. We do it all the time. Only problem is we've now got this component header, which has got space in it for 3 props. What if we want more? What if we want something that is completely dynamic? What if we don't know what we want? That's what we're getting at, really. What if we want to leave a bit of a blank canvas there that a future parent component can use? In which case, what we want to do is take away all of that. And now, back in app, we're going to make a few changes. So instead of the normal self-closing tag that we've got, as we always use in React, we're going to take that one away. And instead, we're going to close the header with its own closing tag, just like we would in regular HTML quite often, like a div or what have you. Now, anything that we put, and let's just get rid of those old props, anything that we now put between these tags are going to be children. Header, let's just spell it correctly, else we're obviously going to get an error. So what I've just cut and pasted from the old header were these props, format that. Now, of course, this is not going to work because we've got props.link.1. We don't want that. So this is where, at the point where we're actually going to be calling this component from the parent, this is where we can specify what we want. So if we go back here and we can say home and had about and contact. And let's just decide, well, we've randomly decided we want another component, another link in here. Let's call it blog. So those are now all available as children to the header component. Let's give that a save. It's going to fail. Yeah, see, nothing has come through. That's not surprising because we haven't quite finished setting up. If we pop back to header, at the moment, we're taking in props. We don't want to do that anymore. Well, 2 options, actually. We could take in props, and then down here, up forward a bit, we could do props.children. Let's see what happens when we do that. There we are. It works. Home about contact blog. Now, children is a protected word in React, so it's specific to picking up the children that we created in that header component. In the app component, the children we put between the header tags. You can use it like a normal prop, i.e. just putting in a regular, just like if we wanted to put in here, I don't know, header title equals whatever, children equals some children. Now, you could do that. If we save that, what's going to happen? We're not going to change anything because we've got children here. But let's see what happens if we take away those children. See, the some children now appears there. So children is available as a regular prop, but obviously not much point in doing it like that normally. So the other thing which you will commonly see, instead of taking in props here, is to actually destructure and take in children, just like that. So all we've done is we've taken the children from the props, we've destructured it right there, and then we can delete props. Save it, there we are, we get our children back. Okay, the last thing to mention is that using children does not mean that we can't use other props. So it might well be we don't want to be limited to my title. So how about in here, we put in props.title. And then when we call, well, we've already called this whatever. Let's see if that works. I suspect it's going to fail. Yeah, there we're actually going to get an error because we're not taking in the props, right? Now we've destructured the children. So what can we do? As I said, we could do props.children, props.title, common, just to take in the children. And then what you'll often see is that we use the rest, the ... rest to take in the rest of the props. So when we put the ... rest props, we're using here the rest operator, easily confused with the spread operator, but they are different, of course, do completely different things. All we're saying here really is first take in the children and then take in the rest of the props. And so what we can do down here, where we've got props.title, let's just change that to rest props and give that a whirl. And it works. We've given ourselves the title, whatever. We can probably change that to, what should we call it? Just my title will do. Right. So all of that is quite handy when you're developing. So just to recap, basically, what we can do is we can put the child components, put the children in the header component here. Just gives us a little bit more flexibility because we can put whatever we want in here now. It gives us complete freedom. So if we're going to use this header component in multiple locations, we can do different things a little bit more conveniently than we would if we were just passing props. I think the official advice is use props where you can. I mean, props are the way to go, unless you have to pass loads of props or unless props are just proving too restrictive, in which case you've got other options. So if you found that helpful, do click subscribe, do drop me a message, or find me on Twitter. I'll put a link to this scrim in the description, maybe a link to my GitHub, and I hope to hear from you.